You can never escape me. Nothing harms me, but I know pain. I know pain. Sometimes I share it with someone like you.
Wow, this movie was shockingly awful. I was expecting this movie to be really, really good. I mean, it's adapted from Frank Miller, like Dark Knight Returns. I've seen that big-ass movie multiple times, and it's awesome, but this was just... Well, let's be fair here. The Dark Knight Returns has 2.5 hours to tell its story, and this one literally starts the credits an hour in, so significantly less time, right? But in my opinion, that doesn't excuse the utter crap that is this movie's pacing, which was really the main problem here. Jim Gordon is the new cop in Gotham. He hates living in Gotham and hates being a cop, but wants to give his wife and soon-to-be-born child a good life, and so keeps working as the lieutenant commissioner to the corrupt Commissioner Loeb. At the same time, billionaire Bruce Wayne returns from a long hiatus from Gotham and seeks to find some way to make a difference and fight back against the rampant crime of the city that he loves. As Gordon is dealing with his corrupt coworkers, Bruce claims he's given a sign and dons a bat costume to go and fight crime at night. Their paths cross when Gordon tries to stop a rogue truck whose driver has fallen asleep at the wheel, yes, that happens, and Batman saves a young girl from being run over. However, he's soon held at gunpoint, trapped in a building, and then has to fight off the police. Later, after he escapes, Batman crosses paths with Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, who gets in the way of him taking down crime lord Falcone, though this resolves itself by the end somehow. When Gordon's law-abiding interference comes to a head, Loeb and his underworld friends seek to silence him or take him out, threatening his newborn son to do so. It's only with the timely arrival of Batman that his son is safe. Gordon is promoted to captain, all of the villains are put away, the Joker is now on the loose, and Gordon calls Batman for assistance in taking him down. To lay on the biggest criticism for the movie, it would be that pacing that I mentioned earlier. Other than action scenes, it's rare to see a single event play out for more than 45 seconds at a time before cutting away to the next scene. There are 2 separate times, with mostly the same dialogue, where Gordon says that he has interrogation questions for someone in regards to the Batman, and both times the movie immediately smash cuts to after the interview, immediately after he says that, so we don't even know what those questions are.
Lieutenant, I need to know where you were on the following dates. Thank you, sir. Barbara. Mr. Wayne, I need to know where you were on the following dates.
As I understand it, a lot of the problem is in too faithfully adapting the comic that this is based on, and it certainly feels like it. When you read comics, there's no transitions, no lead-ins, and scenes rapidly shift from one location to another to make for decent pacing within that medium. And of course, how much of this occurs depends on the team behind it and the comic itself, so that's not a hard rule, don't get mad about it. But adapting that style to film creates such stark whiplash that I, after like 2 glasses of wine, had a ton of difficulty trying to keep track of everything. It's just so rapid fire. There's next to no time for the audience to really take in a scene or location. Any visual time that we would be able to do so is quickly interrupted by the film's obnoxious use of inner monologue, which I'm sure was present in the comics, yes, but does not translate well at all into animation.
He's got a Green Beret's training. He knows how to use his size, too. Don't do a damn thing. Be sure of your facts before you bring down another cop. Just watch him. Memorize every move for future reference.
It just serves to slow scenes down and distract from any amount of effort that the animators put into telling this story visually, which I think that they did competently. If this movie didn't have any sound, at least during those scenes, especially toward the beginning with very few actual spoken lines, I think it would have been much better off. As it is, having to split your attention between what's going on screen and what's being told to us makes the scenes feel even shorter, as we're not even able to process everything that is there. I just have no idea what they were thinking or why they thought that this was okay. Even if an argument could be made to keep the inner monologue instead of finding some more organic way to portray this information visually or through natural dialogue, there's still a glaring problem. No effort was made to make any audible differentiation between dialogue and thought. They both sound the same. So, if a character's mouth isn't on screen to tell us which it is, we're left wondering. Like, take this.
I'm not ready. I have the means, the skill, but something's missing. I have to wait. I have to wait.
And tell me whether you think that's spoken to someone or is thought. How about this?
It's a long, sordid story. The bullet points are police corruption, a cop who wanted to believe the system works, and one incredibly bad decision. There's a reason everyone hates internal affairs. They dangle the carrot of integrity and honesty, but at the end of the day, when you take down another cop, they treat you like any other low-life scumbag.
The first one was Bruce thinking to himself about how he's not ready to become a vigilante. No, he's not talking to Alfred about it. And the second is Gordon explaining to his mistress why he's in Gotham. Even aside from the pacing, this story is just so sloppy and full of cop-outs. There is some interesting drama to be found here if they allowed it to breathe naturally. Squeaky clean Jim Gordon has an affair with a coworker and he feels awful about it, especially considering his wife is really late into her pregnancy. Okay, cool. Drama. Then he's threatened by Loeb over the affair. No mention is made of any repercussions that the woman has to deal with because she's also in the Force. Like maybe she could have turned on Gordon to keep the information a secret or something. And then Gordon resolves to tell his wife himself instead of letting the information leak.
Jim, what is it?
Honey, there's something I need to tell you.
We don't get to see the confession or any interaction between Gordon and his wife after they cut away from before the confession. The birth happens like normal, there's no real tension shown to us, and the climax dealing with his family being put in danger isn't even framed in that cheesy, unearned way where he's trying to prove his faithfulness by risking his life to protect her or some bullshit like that. Then, after the encounter, which ultimately solved nothing, all of the villains are magically put away or otherwise dealt with. Loeb is forced into a retirement and is put on trial, the corrupt cops are put away, Gordon is promoted, the whole works, where none of it feels really earned. The pacing is so awful that no tension was ever built up or paid off, and because it doesn't feel like the characters earned this victory, it's hard to make it feel justified as rewarding the characters for their good deeds, let alone all of the logical inconsistencies of the fact that they never even dealt with the core problem of the corrupt system. Maybe the biggest example of a waste of time is Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. So, it's never explained how she's such a good fighter. She's a hooker. Literally. She fights Bruce Wayne because he tries to defend an underage girl's honor by trying to get her away from her scummy employer. Then she's a background extra during the Batman versus the police fight, and then she inexplicably decides to stop being a hooker, spend the rest of their money on a catsuit, and then become a thief. No effort is made to show her scoping out for her heist, which is a big part of the procedure from basically every source there is, and is mad that it was Batman that was attributed to the crime and not her, because that makes sense.
They're kind of cool.
To charge Batman with the crime, though they admit to having no hard evidence.
Batman? They're giving the credit to Batman?
But Selena, you don't want them to know it's you, do you?
I hear Falcone's got a fortune in old stuff.
Then she messes up when Batman was beating up Falcone, gets even more mad that now she's considered his assistant, and then she never shows up again. There is no resolution to her character, she didn't have any kind of arc, and she accomplished next to nothing.
Great! Now, the Toyota Urban Cruiser.
And really quick, if you're going to mess with Batman's gadgets, like not even his more elaborate ones, I'm talking his base kit, you need to tell us. The mythology has become so ingrained that if Batman does not have his grappling hook for whatever reason, which since he doesn't use it to escape from the authorities, I have to assume he doesn't have it, then we need to know that. Otherwise, it just makes him look like an idiot. But he's no more an idiot than the police, if I'm being honest. This movie depicts a corrupt cop who beats the hell out of Gordon early on, where he goes to the trouble of hiding his face from the man who he directly works with on a regular basis, but then does nothing to disguise his voice, and even calls Gordon by his mocking pet name Jimmy to his face before leaving.
Think of that pregnant wife of yours, Jimmy.
Call me Lieutenant.
Yeah, sure thing, Jimmy. You gotta learn.
So why bother with the face mask? As well, the police have Batman pinned down behind a pillar. There are like 7 people shooting at him with no hope of escape for Bruce Wayne, yet not one of them even considers flanking him and shooting around the pillar. Also, Batman is definitely not a superhuman in this movie. He definitely doesn't break through big-ass trees with a single kick, or does the same thing with a marble pillar, or jumps like 6 feet to climb a building. Definitely not. He's completely human. Just, oh my god, I can go on forever. I could go on how no mention is made of Gordon considering another career path instead of going to the notoriously crime-ridden Gotham. I could mention that no effort is made to explain where Bruce Wayne has been all of this time, that he had to come back and say, oh man, Gotham is so much worse than I remember. I could bitch and bitch and bitch, but I think I've proven my point. Believe it or not, I think this might be the new lowest bar. At least Green Lantern First Flight had interesting background character designs and a more appealing color palette. It also told a somewhat acceptable story. It didn't have all of these horrible cop-outs at least, so it worked okay on a purely emotional level. Batman Year One doesn't even give its two main characters any semblance of an arc or any kind of growth, or even a real character. They maintain the same face the entire time, stoic and distant. I think that's pretty telling of the kind of one-track mind this movie had. It wanted to be like the comic without stopping to consider that maybe it wasn't such a great idea. And as it turns out, it wasn't a good idea because this movie is utter trash.